Hey everybody, Natalie Cutler-Welsh here, the go-to girl. And today I'm talking to the beautiful Sharleen Greer. She's from Midlife Courage. And we're going to be talking about retreats, rejuvenating yourself, and reinventing yourself. 3 R's, which is really, really cool. So before we get into that topic, Sharleen, I would love it if you could tell us a little bit about like Midlife Courage. What exactly does that mean to you, and where did that business name come from?
Okay, well, I suppose we all know about midlife crisis, and to me that term didn't sound that empowering, and it kind of implies that everyone goes through a midlife crisis when they hit midlife, and that's not true. Well, actually, I think we might, all go through them, but at different, they don't need to be this major thing. So I wanted a term that was more empowering for women, and I suppose I knew that in my 50s, starting a new business, that I would have to dig deep and find my own courage to do it on many levels, starting a new business and then the whole social media side and all that sort of thing. So my word last year was courage. And that's kind of where it came from, really, from midlife crisis to midlife courage.
I like it. I think it's really memorable. And I think people get the concept, like it's a spin-off of the whole midlife crisis. Like midlife crisis does not have to be that. You just have to have courage and forge on through, or maybe, as we're going to talk about today, kind of revisit what you love to do, things that maybe you've been putting on the back burner, right? Like, maybe you've been looking after everybody else instead of yourself. So what topic should we dive into first? How about rejuvenating? Because that's a pretty cool topic. So one of the things I'm trying to do myself, and I also encourage a lot of my friends and business friends and clients to do, is to make sure they look after themselves as well, right? And I know that as a mother, busy mother, have you got 3 kids? Four children, teenager, right? Older children. But still, right? Moms always put themselves a little bit at the bottom of the heap, I think, and especially when you've got young ones, and especially when you're running a business. And so I think rejuvenating yourself, like giving yourself back energy and fulfillment and time and space is really important. How have you been doing that for yourself, or how do you encourage your clients to build rejuvenation into their life and their business?
Well, I think one of the biggest things, all my clients seem to suffer from lack of confidence at some level, because as you're right, they've been giving out to everyone else, and then all of a sudden, kids leaving home and whatnot, they start thinking about themselves, and they've kind of like lost themselves in the whole parenting thing. So we have to look at building their confidence, and one of the ways to do that is to find out what it is that gives them pleasure. And some go, well, our kids, because that's been their life for so long. But if you put the kids aside and dig a bit deeper, what underneath that gives you pleasure? And that's kind of starting. I often start there with my clients, and from there we then can actually start actioning it and doing those things that give us pleasure or give them pleasure, so that they do start feeling rejuvenated. And, it sounds easy, but it's actually quite difficult for a lot of women, especially the whole thing about wanting, needing to put yourself first. We weren't brought up in that culture, so it's a tricky one for a lot of women.
That's interesting you talk about culture, because I think also possibly generationally, I mean, like my mom obviously is older than you, but I'm of a slightly different, like I grew up in Canada, but we grew up in with different expectations, right, around us. And I think women more and more nowadays are it's expected that the men are more helpful and handy with domestic stuff and involved in the childcare. Whereas I imagine when you were a mother, like, it was pretty much the mom's domain to do the bulk of all that stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I was always a bit probably, I wasn't a full-time mum at home all the time, and I had a wonderful husband who was happy to share. He never had a mother, so I think it was kind of second nature for him just to keep doing what he did. Sorry, I've lost my train of thought.
Well, I was really just talking about how I think women nowadays, like in your generation, especially those women, they maybe were really accustomed to just putting everyone in front of them and themselves. And I think you mentioned something about pleasure earlier. And sometimes when you ask a woman who's in her, I'm like 43, so 43 and up, what do you love doing? What do you love doing? What are your hobbies? What makes you happy? And it's like we almost can barely remember what we love doing because we haven't been doing it.
Yeah, that's right. And I notice it's quite different. Like, what is midlife? People say that to me, what age? And I think, statistically, they're now saying 40 to 65, that women are living a lot longer. The average age is 84. But, I've had clients I've got one client who's 36. She got pregnant at 16, so grew up fast. So she feels like she's in midlife. And I mean, there's quarter life. So it's really just that transition, isn't it, of needing to put yourself first, and how do you do that, and what did you used to love to do that rejuvenated you and gave you pleasure?
So do you think it's almost not even an age, but more of a stage where a woman she's kind of not at a crossroads, but she's at a point in her life where she's actually got different opportunities now? Like, either for me, right now I've got 3 kids at school, I've got different opportunities than I had last year. Whereas other women, they might have their kids have gone off to university or jobs, they don't live at home. And that's another position where she's got kind of a couple of different roads she can take in terms of how she spends her time and energy now.
Yes, I think so. You're right. It's not so much an age thing. However, I have noticed that, I do work with clients in their 40s, and it seems from that 40 to 50, they are starting to get back in touch. I just talked to a woman the other day, and she said, all of a sudden the kids are all at school and I can start running. And she was actually celebrating and loving it.
Yeah.
I think you go 40 and 40, 80, I still could be alive at 80.
Yes.
But then you turn 50 and that urgency button goes up, because 50, 50, 100. And what's interesting now, I'm also starting to get some clients in their 60s, and that goes to another level where they're really starting to talk about wanting to leave a legacy. Yes. So even though, they're all kind of in that mid-age bracket, there's different phases, it seems, for each decade.
I love that observation about wanting to leave a legacy, and kind of that, what did you say, it pushes the urgency button almost.
Yes, it does. It does.
Do you find that some women also, so that part of it we were talking about is rejuvenating and giving back to yourself and doing things you enjoy? It doesn't even have to be having massage. It can literally be going for a run like your friend. Right?
Yes,
it's just whatever,
right.
I say fills your cup. So whatever gives back your energy. Now, what about reinventing yourself? Have you reinvented yourself? Have you come across many women who have?
Yeah. I mean, I've reinvented myself, quite a few times, but certainly with this business, I feel like I've reinvented myself. And some people just find one thing that they use. Like, I've got another client at the moment, and she's just discovered, kind of by unpacking the layers, that she always wanted to be a writer, and she never, for whatever reason, pursued that, and she thought she never would. So, that was something she did as a kid, and so now she's writing every day and thinks she's going to publish a book. But so that's quite massive for her. I've had other people that have just taken up a hobby, and then everything else is sort of, fulfilled them a lot more. So it doesn't have to be something major, totally going into a new career like I have, or it can just be something quite little. And then you get other people that think, wow, like for me, I've still got 30 years potentially left, so I could do another business and do the things that I, and the great thing is that we have so much wisdom. Like you look back, I look back and I think of all the things I've done over my life, and it really kind of, and that's not even, it is training, but it's also experiences and knowing that I do have a lot to offer and to give back. Yeah,
well, wisdom, I mean, it's the type of thing that I think you're right. We don't actually appreciate a lot of what we actually know. We just know it through experience. And so often I think the part of the role you play, I imagine, is just probing, like asking questions that women are so busy, they don't have time to even think about. And then all of a sudden they're realizing what actually is truly important and what they can just shift in their life. It's funny with reinventing yourself. I often think of visual stuff, like, like changing the colors that you wear, your hair, and that's one side of it. But a lot of it, like you said, it could be career-based, because a lot of women, they don't want to do what they did pre-children. They don't necessarily want to go back and do that same thing. They want to take
But you are right about the visual thing, because I had four daughters, and I was always so busy with them, and I didn't put myself first. But now that I've got the time and the money to do that, I love going to get my nails done, and I love getting my, even when I get my nails done, I always pre-book, book my next appointment. And the same with my hair, and having time to kind of, because I think as you reinvent yourself, you also start reinventing your style. So therefore your clothes change and all sorts of things. And the whole pleasure thing is I think for me, and this is, to get in touch with your senses can really help you get in touch with your pleasure. And so, I really like tactile touch. So I'm wearing a lot of silk and a lot of velvet and things that feel really good for me. And so it is interesting how as we reinvent ourselves, we also change our style.
Yeah, and then you probably go, gosh, why have I not been wearing this before? Like what?
Yeah.
Wearing velvet.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about retreats, which is the third R. So, gosh, I think whenever I think of a retreat, I think like luxury, just relaxing, peaceful. Yeah, is that the type of thing that I know you're planning a retreat at the moment. Are those some words that resonate with what's going to be going on?
Oh, definitely, yes. I mean, I've been spoiled over the last 3 or 4 years where I'm in a group with another 2 friends, and we go to the Langham for our birthdays 3 times a week. And I mean, I say
3 times a week.
I mean, sorry, gosh.
Wow.
If no, it's only because I've been going a bit lately, but normally 3 times a year for our birthdays, sorry. And that was, I say that easily, but that was quite a big process for me. I started putting money aside and, am I really worth spending this much? And it was like, hell yeah, I brought up 4 kids. Of course I am. And the thing I love about the Langham is the luxury, as you said, and the pampering. We always have a massage. And so definitely the retreat that I'm doing, that whole pleasure and pampering is certainly a big part of it. Hence I've chosen a estate, it's called, that normally they kind of helicopter people in and whatnot, and it's beautiful. And just for people to have a pause in their life, away from the busyness, away from the noise, and have some pleasure and get pampered and learn some skills along the way. But of course there'll be massage and yoga and time out and wonderful food, healthy food, and all that sort of thing. So I think any of us, but definitely midlife women, are really seeking like just having some just putting the pause on their button, pushing the pause button and saying, actually, I want some time for me, and I want some pleasurable time for me in a pleasurable place.
That it's quite different, isn't it? Rather than just going out for lunch, it's like you're actually physically removed from your to-do list, your laundry pile, all that stuff. Yeah. And then you're a little bit away from your normal place, and you're hanging out with other amazing women. But it's not just that, like you're actually going to facilitate some meaningful discussion and get a little bit clearer, right? Is that right? On your path or your direction?
Yes, well, I've called it reconnect and cultivate pleasure, purpose and play. So obviously they're the 3 things we'll be looking at. And they kind of all tie into one another as well. And also looking at your values and giving the people where they've come, where they are now, and what they need to go forward. So there will be a little bit like I'm starting to get people booking in that are in a crossroads and want to have a bit of a plan to go forward. So and I'm also excited. I've always been into the winter the seasons and how we celebrate them. So it's going to be on winter solstice, so that on the Saturday night we can get a bit dressed up and after dinner
wear your velvet and your silk.
Yeah. Do a little bit of a celebration around winter solstice, that it is a time where we start hibernating, and what do we need to do to make the most of that time, and all those sorts of things.
That sounds amazing. It sounds indulgent, but well deserved for many ladies. So it's in the North Island. Where is it? Matakana?
Yes, it's in Warkworth, but these days anywhere from Puhoi to Whangarei they're calling Matakana, but it's in Warkworth, which is only 5 minutes away from Matakana. So it's only 50 minutes away from Auckland, so quite accessible and easy to get to.
That sounds awesome. All right. So for those people, I guess you got to be quick because it's in June. So check it out. I think it's SharleenGreer.com.
It's SharleenGreer.co.nz.
.co.nz. Thank you.
Yeah, and then you can link right on up the top to the wellness winter wellness retreat lead page, and that gives you all the information in a way of booking.
So speaking of winter coming up for those of us here, in New Zealand and Australia area, what are some tips that you've got for people around looking after yourself, like going into winter and that type of thing?
Well, first of all, I think your food, we tend to transition from, in the summer, we tend to really like the salads and the juices and things like that. And some people find the winter, they think that they would still like to do that. But a lot of the philosophies out there go by the season. So, it's a time to get those casseroles going. And for busy mums, something I used to always do is just, someone gave me a crock pot and it was just great. So in the morning, chucking everything in a pot and having like soups and things like that you can have on the go can be really good for winter. And also I think just acknowledging that a lot of people find that they don't like winter. We all crave the sun. So to be gentle on yourself and know that if you find that you are hibernating, that's actually, it's what you're supposed to do in winter, and that it's okay if you find that your energy's a bit less, that you don't want to be as social. Just give yourself permission to acknowledge that and to know it will pass. And I mean, obviously, gosh, we're into May over here in New Zealand and the weather's been beautiful. So everyone's going, oh no, what's winter going to be like when it comes? And so I think, and also it's very easy not to exercise when you're in that winter slump.
Yes.
So to remind yourself, to keep the exercise up. You may have to change. Like I do a lot of biking, and this morning we biked in the rain and we thought, gosh, this is going to be more so. So I thought, right, if I'm going to keep doing it, I need to, what strategies do I need? I need to invest in a new raincoat and things like that.
Gloves.
Or, gloves, that's right. Something around my neck. Or change my exercise and maybe up my yoga, which is indoors. So always looking at what's sensible in terms of your actions and moving forward for the season. So exercise, food, and just allowing yourself to know that it is a time of hibernating. And that's why retreats can be quite good, to go away and learn a bit more about hibernating and getting away from the norm, the ordinary day.
Yeah, I think it's perfect timing for that. I think it's interesting with winter as well. I mean, I'm coming from Canada, like we have a different definition of winter, obviously, than Kiwis. But it's not just about the temperature and the snow. It's actually about the lighting, right? Because now, as we know, when you wake up, it's dark, and when you're eating dinner, it's dark, and so things are a bit just slower. And you mentioned the crock pot. When my sister moved to America, she didn't take all her Kiwi things with her, so she left her crock pot for me, and it's really, we love it, and there's something quite, I guess, I don't know if rejuvenating is the word, but something quite soothing, about having like a bowl of soup. And my kids, as they get older, they're getting more into soup. I feel like little kids don't really like soup, but older kids are more likely to kind of indulge in soup. But there's something quite relaxing about just sitting there holding like a bowl of soup.
Yes.
It actually helps you to slow down.
Yeah, that's right. And I mean, I think also what we relate to in the winter is the beautiful open fires. So, the retreat estate that I'm having, there's open fires in every bedroom. There's lots of open fires. And it's quite funny, though, because I'm having a raw foods person come, because she kind of goes with the estate and she's used to doing it. But she's made, and I've had a couple of people going, oh, but it's winter. But actually all the food she's made, you can heat it up.
Oh,
you don't have to have it raw, but it will be nice at morning and afternoon tea too, as well as tea and coffee. There will be nice cold press healthy juices available as well, and that's
get your vitamin kick.
Yes, yeah, that's right. Which you need with as you say, when you're not going outside into the light as much.
Exactly. Oh, that sounds magic. That sounds awesome. Okay, great. Well, it was so awesome to talk to you about the 3 R's that we talked about today: retreats, rejuvenating, and reinventing yourself. So for those people listening, think about what you can do in your life, in your business. Is it that you need to reinvent yourself? Is it that you have an old logo? I mean, that's not a true reflection of your brand. Or is it that you need to maybe give yourself more rejuvenation and maybe do some of the tips that Sharleen has mentioned today? Maybe book yourself into a retreat. Just something that gives back to you, because as business owners, as mothers, we are constantly pouring energy upon other people and into other things. We need to make sure we look after ourselves as well.
Yeah.
Any final comments from you, Sharleen?
Any final comments from me? I suppose I'll just leave with a quote, which I quite like. That's you come across lots of quotes these days, but this one kind of rang true to me, and it was a Picasso quote that said, we spend the first half of our life learning how to be a grown-up, and we spend the second part of our life learning how to play, and that's why I've introduced the play part to the retreat. So also, like, what are you going to be doing to play? And I'm going to be at the retreat having things like a table with a jigsaw puzzle, so if people, you know, feel like going over and doing that. And I'm a crafty person, so, you know, I'm encouraging some of my tribe are big knitters, so bring your wool, and, you know, you can knit, and that's actually fantastic when you're doing the workshops. Just as a way of finishing this interview off, is that I've found that when women are doing things with their hands, they tend to get out of their head and into their heart. And that's also something, you know, that I love, is the whole storytelling, and especially the storytelling that comes from the heart is really powerful. So, you know, for those that are out there that have thought, gosh, I used to crochet and knit, it's really changed. It's very contemporary now, and it's amazing what you can do. So that can
and
be
I imagine
really nice.
they can bring their adult coloring book or
all of that sort of thing. Yeah, anything like that they, you know, whatever tickles their fancy, really.
That's awesome. Okay, guys, and yeah, please comment below if you're watching. If you're watching this and you're on Facebook, you can comment below and tell us what you are doing also to play in your life and to have more fun. Because as you mentioned, that that keeps us young, doesn't it?
It does. Yeah, having fun and laughing. Adults don't laugh half as much as what kids do, as we all know.
I imagine you're going to have a very fun time at your retreat. All right, thanks Sharleen.
Okay, bye everyone.
See everyone. Thanks for watching, and check out more amazing Blab interviews and Zoom interviews on the GoToGirl socialmedia.com website. See ya.